My name is Robert Taylor. I'm from Pyle originally, that's where I was born and bred. So Stormy Down was never too far away from me. I'm being old, I grew up with all the stories from my grandmother, everything that went on in Stormy Down. Later on I joined the Air Training Corps and I ended up as Flight Lieutenant, charge of Air Cadets in Kentwick Hill. So I've always loved everything to do with the aviation. When I joined the museum in Port Call, I started on the bits and pieces to do with aircraft. I was selected to do everything to do with research. My wife and I worked together on Stormy Down. And last year, about the year before last, a gentleman came up called Ken Picton who decided he wanted to put a stone at Stormy Down. Because we were doing the research on Stormy, he thought they should put a stone there to remind people what went on there. Ken, when he came to November, he asked me for his help. He said that he didn't really have a stone and he didn't really have a mason, but he had an idea. And he wasn't well, so could I help? So he stayed out of it until he came along on the 2nd of July last year, when we put the stone there. The Royal Air Force took part. We had a marching team came on. We had the band. We had the Air Commodore in charge of Wales, Lord Lieutenant Glamorgan. Everybody, there was anybody in the area turned up. The Battle Britain Memorial Flight joined in to help us out. And the Red Arrows finished it off the day with flying over the top. So Stormy Down is totally different to what a lot of people in the area thought. First things people think of when you mention Stormy Down is a car boot sale. We did it pretty good. The second thing you always think about was the go-kart track. And the last one you always think about was the rehabilitation centre. But before that, it was a very, very important part of the war. Someone told me when I started doing this, there was nothing in Stormy Down. All it was a dummy airfield to fool the Germans. I'll try and prove them wrong tonight. Okay. Stormy Down, this is the badge that was given to Stormy Down. This is number 7 Air Gunner School. Air gunnery came into it towards the end. It started life as, this is Stormy Down. It started life as a bombing and gunnery school. 1937 was when they cut the first turf and they started building it. 1939 it was operational. This was an operational base before World War II. They were already working on bombing and gunnery practice in those days. The difference between 1939 and 1941 is that when they went for bombing and gunnery practice at Stormy Down to learn something, some of them took up to 18 months to learn the craft. After the Battle of Britain, it was condensed into 8 weeks. So you were getting young men coming in, joining the Air Force at 18 years of age. There was 6 weeks basic training, 2 weeks aptitude tests, and then they volunteered for flying duties. Nobody in the Air Force that flew was never conscripted and pushed into it. You were only volunteers that flew, every single one of them. When they went to Stormy, they did 8 weeks training there and they came out as sergeants. If anybody has been in the forces will know that it takes a long time to work your way up through the ranks to become a sergeant. But if they did it in 20 weeks, you can understand when these lads went to the sergeant's mess for the first time, they were hated. They'd spent years and years getting there, they'd done 20 weeks, why should they do it? But the horrible fact came when they went to the operational squadrons, and some of them were dead within a month. And we'll show what happened next. Right, this is Stormy. When do I stand that? Get even better from the side. Right, this is Stormy Down. This is the aerial photograph taken by the Royal Air Force in 1940. This is the 848. This is the road that goes down to the tip. So the buildings you see when you turn up to go down the tip are these ones here. Well, those 3 buildings, it's actually 6 of them, they're detached houses, they're semi-detached houses, and they are married quarters. The next 2 which you got there, they're the warrant officers' houses. And the 2 which you can still see today here, this one is the officer commanding, and that one's the chief medical officer. The other one we used to be able to see was this one here. And a lot of stories you get, and you see photographs of this everywhere, and everybody will tell you this was the cinema. This was only the cinema from 1948 onwards, when all this area was taken over by British Steel. and they turned that gymnasium into a cinema for the workers in the steelworks. Okay, done a bit. This area here, that is the WAF's quarters. Now as you can see, the long buildings, that's the barracks. But the little short buildings in between, that's the bathhouse and the toilet box. You're going to go in the middle of the night, it's a long way to go, and don't forget it's called Stormy for a reason. It is stormy. So in the middle of winter, it could be freezing cold up there. Not a good place to go in the middle of the night. You move down a little further, this was the main gate you came in. So this part, which you may remember as a rehabilitation centre years ago, that was the officers' mess. That was the squash court. This was the officers' barracks. On this side there, that was the airmen's barracks, and the sergeants were there. Sergeant's mess, airmen's mess. Over here, there's a few more barracks for extra people that came in, and this was the training schools. Now, as well as being bombing and gunnery, there was a lot of other things went on here. This was basically a little town. Normally, on a weekday, there was 1,500 people on the rations list. When they had big courses coming in, it could go up to 2,500. They couldn't all sleep here, so they billeted them out. Some were in tents in Porthcawl, some in guest houses in Porthcawl, the lucky ones in the Sea Bank and the Esp. Officers only though. Right, the other thing. Right, next thing now, we got station headquarters. There's the medical blocks. There's a hospital there, or there was. The church is there. And there was another part which was civilian run, which is like the NAFI, which they could go in the evenings and have a glass of lemonade or whatever. Those are the ones that were too young to go down the pub. Right. Now if you look from here and come across these days, at that point there, that's where you see the big wind turbine. And that's what our stone is. This building here, this hangar, is a World War I seaplane hangar. Now, seaplane hangars are totally different to RAF hangars. RAF hangars, the aircraft come out on the ends, on the gable ends. On a seaplane hangar, they come out of this area here. And the reason being, they're built on the edge of the sea, the ramp goes down into the water, it's easier just to slide them straight out and straight into the water. That was used as a part of the gunnery school. The hangars you have here, they were all for practice things, all for gunning or bombing or whatever. They were not there to house the aircraft. The aircraft were hidden, and there were 6 different places around here, which you see on the next map, where they were. And the reason we found those is because this one was given to us by the Luftwaffe. Now, everybody says that Bridgend was a place. Nobody could see it, you couldn't see the arsenal, you didn't know where the steelworks was. Rubbish. This has been translated. I've got the original back in the museum, all in German. And on it, they show this, which is the ammunition dump. There are 2 little blocks there, that's hangars. More hangars there, and some hangars there. And these hangars, they were covered over, they were half done, covered over with grass. And at one time, there were 80 aircraft on this airfield. There was an awful lot of activity here. So thanks to the Luftwaffe, I was able to build a model we've got in the museum. This is one of the aircraft that came over, the Dornier 215. If you've seen all the films about the war, first thing everybody says is, they took all the signs down to confuse the enemy. Nobody knew where they were going. Except for Porthcawl and Bridgend. Because outside the sea bank, on the grass that runs down, all through the war, there was lovely flower beds there saying, "Welcome to Porthcawl." And there was always talk about U-boats coming out from the channel. Somebody came in the museum one day and they said they had a photograph taken, standing there so you could see Somerset in the background. And when he blew it up, over his shoulder was the conning tower of a U-boat. We didn't welcome him, of course, we knew who he was. The stories of a Dornier 215 flying up the river he went. And as they flew up the river, where Tesco's is now, there used to be a big gas retort outside. And all that throughout the war in big bold letters with the word Bridgend. Now, it was difficult to navigate around Wales. That's as well as every time we brought someone in and on the trains, they left the maps instead of carriages. So they had a good idea where things were. Next. Right. You saw the Dornier 215, sleek, nice looking aircraft. And then you see this. So this is the same period. all through the war years, from World War I up through the 30s, people believed in biplanes. So we didn't go as far as the Germans. They were thinking differently than everybody else. Monoplanes, new materials, speed, better engines. We were happy with these. Now what you'll find with this poor chap here, look, open cockpit. The gunner is just a little loop and he stands up in the freezing cold. Luckily for the bombing, where you can simply just sit there and look out the window. And there's a retractable turret that comes underneath here. So you wind somebody down on that. Please not too heavy so I can wind it back up again. But this is what they used in the 30s. So when the bombing and gunnery school started in Stormy Down, this is what they brought in. They were frontline bombers that had just been superseded by the next ones that were coming in. Weren't very clever. But that's what we had to start with. Next. Now I mentioned the fact about U-boats. 1939, just before the war started, they took 3 of these Hayfords and they took them away to Farnborough and they had this loop put in. It's not an actual photograph, I have to draw the loop in, not very good. But that is a magnetic loop. In aircraft that you've got today, which are out on maritime reconnaissance, they usually have a long boom which sticks out the back, which is called a MAD boom, which stands for Magnetic Anomaly Detector. In other words, they fly over the sea and anything is ferrous, they can spot it. So they spot submarines with this. And 3 of these were operated from Stormy Down from 1939 to 1941 when they moved down to Fairwood Common and took over from there with better aircraft. So we had a U-boat threat here in 1939. And there were U-boats up and down this channel all through the war. 3 of them got mislaid, and the 3 of them today are in Padstow. They were down there and they got sunk. The reason they got sunk in Padstow is because they had mines normal levels, but where Padstow came, it was a deeps. So they dropped them down low, they'd come out, knowing where the subs were. The subs would go deep to get away from them. They exploded, and that's when they were camped. So that's the end of those. So there was a big submarine part going on here. Next. Right, flying training schools. 1939, we had the bombing and gunnery school. Then they decided to bring in pilots, train them, basic training. We notice the crowns are different on them. This is the actual crown for the war, because that's the King's crown, the other 2 are Queen's crowns. Sorry about that, I was too lazy to change it before the shop. And that's it. Now, we've only got 3 here. We've got 2, 3, and 7. We also had number 1. And as well as calling them flying training schools, they sometimes call them service flying training schools. The reason they did that is because they trained all people through all the services. One that came down here on a regular basis was the number 1 service flying training school, which was the Fleet Air Arm. We'll go on to that later. Next. This is a wonderful bit of kit. You've all seen flight simulators today, you've all got computers, you can play all games with it when you go flying. This is how they taught pilots and flight simulator. This is what they call a link trainer. This is the American style one, obviously, because you've got fancy wings and all the rest of it. And emblems to show they're American. What it actually is a box. The box has got a rod down to the bottom, it's bellows. So when you fly this aircraft, you can actually do all 3 motions. You can yaw, pitch, and roll. Not roll all the way. You can go 35 to 40 degrees and then back. But you've got to imagine you're going right round. Right. So what they do with this one, you start it up exactly like a normal aircraft, and then when you press the magnetos, you get the right speed to take off, and you start to pull back on the stick. Here, drop off. Otherwise it can't move. That's what locks it in place. When it's got the right speed up, then you take it off and you fly like a normal aircraft. The controller then tells them which way to go to do the circuit on the way around. And to make sure he does it right, they have this. And this is called a crab. It's a triangle, two wheels at the back, and one in the front has got ink on it, and they put a map or chart which is calibrated to the speed of the aircraft. So they can tell exactly where he's going and what he should be doing, so he gets the right circuits in. So he can learn to fly. Now that's great. But then it comes to the funny part. This is the box down here. This is where they plug in the crosswinds. So when he's got, oh, this is great, I can do this, anybody can fly. Then they put in a terrible wind from one side and he veers off and he gets lost. So it'll take him a while to learn that. So once they learn the basics of flying training in a simulator, then they shut the lid. and then they do it all by instruments. Because don't forget, when it came to bombing, all the bombing raids after 1941, done in the dark, they lost so many in 39, early 40, daylight raids, they went at night. It's only the Americans who thought they were great and went in the day and had terrific losses. So that's basically what a flight trainer is. Next. This is the Avro Anson. Now the Anson came in, as you saw in the earlier ones when you got the Hayford and the rest. That was great for the day, but now we're stepping up, the technology is getting better. And this aircraft was a multi-role aircraft of its time. It did lots of different things. First of all, it took pilots who'd already got their wings and trained them on multi-engined aircraft. So now, once they finished their course here, they could then go on to flying Wellington bombers, bullfighters, Beauforts, and all the rest of it. And they could also work their way up to the heavies then, onto the Stirlings and the Halifax. Don't forget, this is 1940. The Lancaster did in 41. The other part they could do, they could also take people up into practice gunnery practice. And in the nose, they could teach the people to be the bomb aimers. So it was a multi-role aircraft. And in the meantime, you could always ferry people back and forth from station to station. So it was one aircraft, did a lot of jobs, and it did everything. Cool. And this is the one that came in and took over from the Hayfords. This is the Whitley. At the time of 1939, it was a frontline bomber. It was the bee's knees. But of course, the Stirlings and the Halifax came in and they were bigger and better. So these then came over to bombing and gunnery schools. We still used them when they came to 1,000 bomber raids, so they were stuck. They threw everything in. This one, when it was up at Stormy down, it's got a gunner in a nice enclosed space there, one in the back, and there's a bubble underneath here. When the trainee gunners went up in it, you'd have as many as 6 to 8 gunners in the back. And everybody that was in there, when they were shooting at the targets, they would take their ammunition belt, dip it in paint before they went, all different colours. Reason being, when you shoot at the target, you say, hiya darling. If it's all red and you shot blue and you missed it, you knew you missed. So everybody was identified by the colour of the bullets they fired. So they reckoned the smell inside here, when they went on, they couldn't see out. It was terrible. Now this is 1940. In 41, the Air Cadets were formed, and the Air Cadets in Bridgend, Kenfigil, Port Talbot, Porthcawl, all came here for flying training experience. So what better place to put them to fly? In one of these. They went off, all they heard was noise, and a terrible smell. They had the smell of the engines, the smell of the vomit, because everybody was sick, and the smell of all the dope. They were glad to get out. How did they join the Air Force? But they must have enjoyed it. Now, after World War I, you didn't have bombers, bomb aimers as such. You'd see a wing with a white audit. They were called observers. Reason being, when you were flying along in the aircraft in those days and you were bombing, you'd reach down between your legs, pick up a bomb, look over the side, and drop it. Right? So they were basically observers. They could say when it landed and all the rest. It got a little bit more upmarket, should we say. So this is a flight simulator here for a bomb aimer. This is one of the huts in Stormy down. You can imagine that that wall of the hut is where the bomb aimer is going to be training. So at the bottom of the window, he built a ledge across there, and he lays on the top of that with a hole in the floor, a piece of perspex, bomb aiming equipment, and a moving map underneath. When you think of moving maps today, it's all on computers. This moving map was slightly different. It was a long table with a map on it, a couple of pulleys, strings, and a bloke in the back pulling it underneath. And that's the way he flew over the top and he aimed for the target. And of course, to make it even more interesting, he might move it side to side because of the wind of the aircraft and all the rest of it. But that's how they trained them. This is a bomb aimer in a Stirling aircraft. And the Stirling was a heavier bomber than the Lancaster ever was. But it couldn't fly as fast. It flew higher, carried more bomb loads. But it wasn't as good, it wasn't as glamorous as the Lancaster. There were only 2 glamorous aircraft in the Air Force in World War II. One was the Spitfire, one was the Lancaster. So these always got a bad press, but there were more of them. You can see he's in a very cramped position. This piece here is leather, he's got to lay down there to get everything inside. And he could be laying down like that for ages over the target. And if there's smoke over the target, they've got to go round again. So it could be half an hour or more in that cramped position. The other thing just above his head here, that's where the upper gunner sits. The front gunner sits just above his head with his feet dangling above him. So if he gets in the wrong place, he gets kicked in the head as well. Next. Right. This is a boat and poly fire. A boat and poly fire, if you know about aircraft, looks similar to a Hurricane. And when it came to the Battle of Britain, they brought this aircraft in. They just looked full of Germans. They'd expect to be shot at from the front with all the guns in a Hurricane. And there's none there. They're all in the turret in the back. So the first couple of days of the Battle of Britain was great. These things did well. After that, they thought, we're not so dull. We attack it from the front. So they shot loads of them down. So what they did then, they painted them black and used them as light fighters, so they couldn't tell which way they were coming from. Other ones then they put into the gunnery schools, and that's how we taught the gunners in these turrets. Now, Bolt and Paul, as well as making the aircraft, they made the turrets as well. And that's important because the turrets were made in Stormy Down onto trailers and transformers, and I'll show you later on. They used them on the ground for training before they went down. Next, what do we got? Right, this is one of the early guns, .303. This is what I call a ring and bead sight. There's the bead, you look to that, the bead in the center, ring in the center, and a bead up there. So you sight it by looking through it, bead in it, on the target, and shoot it. If you're shooting at a target that's stationary, it's perfect. If you're shooting at a target that's coming at you at 300 miles an hour, it's not quite the same. So you've got to learn to deflect. This was taken out of the old type of aircraft, like that Rhyfel you saw at the beginning. So it's got this round piece here, so you can imagine in front of that Rhyfel. This is what was in the front, used to lean against. That was the bar that the gun was mounted on, so it could turn around on the ring. And with the bar itself, it would move up and down. That was great for the basics. That's what they taught the basic shooting. The other thing you'll notice with this, the badges are slightly different. These are Polish airmen. We had an awful lot of Poles. After we went to the Polish people, we came over here. They took this type of turret, similar to the one which Bolt and Paul had. It wasn't a mechanical one, and instead of putting machine guns in it, they didn't want to turn them off, having too much noise at any one time, but they wanted to get them used to shooting and leading. So they gave them a shotgun, and they got clay pigeons. And it's a lot cheaper than firing 303 ammunition, so you just fired shotgun cartridges. And that's how they got it, so they got their eye in, and they got to use it. The other thing they did with gunners, they used to let them loose, probably on your farm, and used to go down there shooting at anything that moved. So they got their eye in all the time. Some of them, when they went down to Kent, were slightly different, shot in the wildfowl crust, come home with geese, that's another story. We've got an awful lot of different things going on in Stormy Down. It was Royal Air Force. It was the Women's Royal Air Force. We had various nations came in there. The Poles came in there, the Australians, New Zealanders, Rhodesians, Indians, French, and then the Americans. So apart from being a dummy airfield to fool the Germans with nothing going on, there's an awful lot of people in Portugal. Next. Right. Now these are the Bolt and Paul turrets. This is the hangar that's up there. This was a Bolt and Paul hangar. That is a Martinet, and that's the aircraft we saw earlier in colour in the first film. That tows the targets. Lysanders, again, they were there for towing drogues. But the drogue that's towed behind them is a long, long piece of rope with like an ice cream bag in the end. And the idea of that, if it was just a banner, it would flap in the wind, you wouldn't shoot it. But being conical or tube-like, the wind would go through it, keep it rigid, they'd have a chance to They used to shoot at two different places. One was off Scare. If you know Scare at all, you walk around, you'll find a big concrete arrow in Scare. You'd fly over the top of the arrow, and that was the line they'd go down. They'd fly up that line and back down the line. Now the gunners that were shooting at them were only allowed to shoot on the way up or the way back. Reason being, if they were turning around when they shot them, they'd miss the target and they'd hit the aircraft. So that's what they used for that. The other one was down at Newton Point, that place there. So they used to fly up, shoot at them, and as they came back, they'd drop these drogue chutes off, and somebody apparently, what used to happen was the kids would go out, pick up the drogues, take it back, and they'd get some money for bringing them back. Kids being what they are, if they landed just in the boundary, they used to jump over the boundary, get them, take them back to their place, and take them to the main gate. Kids on change. Now just to give you an idea of what it's like inside the turret. You see all these films, and whenever they show you on a telly, big strapping bloke, loads of room in the turret. If you were to go like that, that is the room you've got in front of you with the turret. If you go like that, that's the headroom in the turret. And when you've got that much room, and you've got three or three machine guns, it's pretty loud, isn't it? Very cramped, because the majority is his head and shoulders, and the rest of him is dangling down here. Okay, it's great when you're getting shot at, don't you just shoot. You've got to hit him in the head, haven't you? Nothing else to hit. But to be in there for 12 hours, and the temperature's minus 10, minus 15, maybe more, depending what height you're at, it's freezing cold. So it's not a good place to be. Well, there you go. When I trained the gunners, as I told you, they had 8 weeks training course to train a gunner from scratch. Other people who were trained up there, all the Commonwealth aviators came in to St. Athens. Went into St. Athens and they decided what they were going to be. If they're going to be gunners, they came over to us. If they're going to be engineers, they were trained in St. Athens. If they were going to be flight engineers, they did the next stage of the course, so they knew all the aircraft controls. And then they went on a 4 weeks training course at Stormy. The reason they did the gunnery course was if anybody on the aircraft was injured or killed, they would take their place. An engineer did his job, he was also a second pilot, and he was also a gunner. He knew everything. Now when these people came down to Stormy, there wasn't enough aircraft and not enough hours in the day to fly them. Because the weather's pretty bad in Stormy a lot. It gets very mushy underneath. So it's very difficult to take off and land. If it rains or snows, it's cancelled altogether. So these people are down in Scare and Morver Bank. And if you look on Google Earth and you pan down, you'll see little rail lines all the way around the place, different sizes. The big wide ones are sand and gravel, but the narrow ones, these ones here, these are for these little dollies. That goes around with this model aircraft, and as it flies around between the gaps in the dunes, they shoot at them. And that's how they get their line, which is all well and good in the daytime, but these boys are going to fly at night. So what they said was, night training, they used searchlights, and they did. But the searchlights they had were in the dunes, the blokes with torches in the bushes, shining them on the aircraft. All volunteers, obviously. And then they fired live rounds over their heads to the target. That's better than what it used to be, because at the start of Stormy, when they practiced, the first one you saw was the Polish guys, there was a bloke who used to run around there with a stick with an airplane on the top. And they used to take pot shots at that. And so, there was about 800 WAFs on the place any one time. And they did a variety of jobs. In this case of where they do the parachute packing, they also did the Midwests, they did the dinghies, and the ones on here are working on Browning 303 machine guns. These machine guns were used in all the turrets at the beginning of the war. They were also used in Spitfires and Hurricanes, exactly the same gun. As well as teaching these, the training part that went on with armourers, there was 2,000 men and women for the Royal Air Force trained as armourers. The Royal Marines came in and they trained the Royal Marines for armourers as well. As well as the parachute packing things that went on there, they had the filming unit and the camera unit. Everybody that went out, when they fired their gun, could come back and see what they'd hit. Exactly the same with the bombing runs. If they were dive bombing or whatever, it was all done, and there was a critique at the end showing where they'd gone wrong and how they could do better. So nothing was haphazard, everything was worked out. Now they got through it in 8 weeks. Goodness knows. Next one. This one here, this is an engine which came out of the Avro Hansen. Now, luckily enough, about 3 months ago, someone donated me one of these engines. His father got it brand new in 1843. Unfortunately, he left it just under a tarpaulin and it's rotted a bit over the last 70 odd years. But at the moment, that's at RAF St. Athens, and they're trying to put it back together and make it look nice for us. So on that, there were all women doing that job. And the other dirty job they had was driving a tractor. Not an ordinary tractor, it's the bomb train. So they took the bomb and they used to fuse the bombs as well. So imagine in this area, you've got women in the arsenal making the bombs, you've got the armourers working on the bombs, on the guns and everything else, and then they're even driving the tractors out. But the men lift the bombs, they're very kind. They've got to help out somebody, haven't they? So the men put the bombs in the aircraft. The other thing the ladies did when they were up there, they were instrument technicians. Now I've been a chippy all my life and I got big inch fingers. I can't get into places. But with a lady with nice delicate fingers, they were great when it came to instruments. You could get into all the narrow little places, which is what you needed. Next one. What do you got there? Now this is Health Officer Ghost. He's Indian Air Force. When the war started, there were 27 Indian pilots who came over and joined the Royal Air Force. A lot of them went into training plants. He was most of his time at Stormy Down, and he was training pilots, or he was flying the aircraft, whichever ones were available at the day. He was so he did a lot of work up there. He was the only Indian there, but he was a good one. Next. Now in here we've got Canadians, New Zealanders, and Australians. I don't know which is which, except that this one here is a Canadian. His name is Ogwr. He was 19 years of age when he came to Stormy, and he learned to be a gunner. He left Stormy, went to his operational squadron, and unfortunately he was good. He was taken from there, and they put him in 617 Squadron, the Dambusters. When Guy Gibson went out, the other aircraft alongside him was AJB. He was in AJB. And if you ever watch the film of the Dambusters, when they're flying up the canal, and one gets shot by flak and hits the pylon, that's Ogwr. He died 6 weeks before his 21st birthday. People tend to think, or the air cadets especially, tend to think that the only people who went to war were old men. They weren't, they were boys. And what happened with Stormy Down, it was a sergeant factory. They took young boys in at 18 or 19 years of age, and in 10 weeks they turned them out as men, as near as they could, because some of them didn't live much longer than that. The people, it was actually 53 that died in Stormy Down, which is very good for the amount of people who went through there. Bomber Command itself lost 45,573 men dead. That's not the ones who were shot down and captured. So the attrition rate was very, very high. The Australians and Canadians, the Canadians, okay, they were used to the cold. New Zealanders, they come from the south, they were used to it. But the story was that the boys who came in from Australia, they came in from Sydney, middle of winter to us, middle of summer to them. So they were leaving 35 and 40 degrees, and they came to Stormy Town. It was -6, -7, and it snowed. And they didn't like Stormy very much. I think they were glad to get out of it. Next one. #1 service flying training school did their training at Netherreed. They could not get their wings until they passed the bombing and gunnery course, which was held at Stormy Down. So they would fly into Stormy Down in biplanes. When they came to Stormy Down, which was the next aircraft, it was a lovely aircraft to fly in, and they did all the bombing and gunnery on that. And they learned there to do dive bombing techniques, scrapping techniques, whatever they did. Now, Anne and I went down to Yeovil, to the Fleet Air Arm Museum, and they gave us the logbooks of 10 men who went through Stormy Down. And when we read those logbooks, 2 of those left Stormy Down. Within 8 weeks, they went to their first ships. One was Victorious, one was Rhyfel, both anchored in the Mediterranean, and they were going to have a whale of a time in the sunshine. 2 weeks after they reached the ships, they were then flying string bags, and they went from there up to the Atlantic, and they fought the Bismarck. So it was baptism by fire for those boys. But the Swordfish was an open canopied aircraft, a biplane, big radial engine, freezing cold, depths of winter, and the Bismarck firing back at you. Must have been one heck of a sight. Has anybody here from Porthcawl, Pine areas? Yes? That guy in the end there is Gilbert Clark. Gilbert Clark was a local doctor when I was a kid. He always told me about the days when he was in the Navy. He used to fly. He used to say, "What's wrong with him?" I said, "Got a few flu." "What?" We used to fly up to pneumonia. Get back to work. That was Gilbert Clark. So Gilbert went through Stormy down, and he flew on the turrets. The first raid on the turrets was hit by the Navy, and he disabled it. He wasn't supposed to fly, he only just joined the squadron, but they were called observers, he's a navigator. But in the Navy they called him observers. That's funny people. He went up by accident, and he was put in and he said, okay, we're after the turrets. So his first flight out was pretty notorious. He said he didn't actually find it, but he was on the trip, so it wasn't too clever. Out of the logbooks we had back, he said 2 were on the Bismarck, he was on the turrets. The other people that come through were on the turrets with the Air Force when they flew it on the last raids with 617 Squadron. So there's an awful lot of people that have gone through Stormy Down, have been in places you wouldn't think about. I mean, all the big battles, we got the Bismarck, we got the turrets, we got the Charnos, we got everything. Peterveld Viaduct, a lot of them came through here. And what I'm researching at the moment are the dam busters. And out of the dam busters, we found quite a few of them were Welsh, or Welsh connections. And a lot of the other ones came through Stormy Down as gunners. So we've got a big part to play in the dam busters. And this year is their 75th anniversary. That's why we're banging on about that. Next one. Now this is the aircraft they flew, the ferry battle. As you can see, it's nice, it's sleek, it's all in clear, closed. Monoplane. Placed underneath for bombs. Put machine guns in it so you could use it for strafing. And then to go from that to a biplane with a radial engine, open cockpit, terrifying. The targets they used were taken out by the rescue launches at Port Call, big pontoons put out off Port Call, and they'd bomb them. At the early start of the war, they used armoured boats to do it. Later on, they found it was a better idea, leave them out there and bring the boats back. Otherwise, they get shot at. And that was the ferry battle. Against it, all sorts of things. There was a gunner in the back, so you could practice gunnery targets with it. A second pilot or navigator, bombings, so you did a lot. And it was a nice little aircraft to fly about in. Much better than the early ones you saw, the Hayford and the rest, which were big and cumbersome. They were fast, they were sleek. The next time they got an aircraft like this with the Navy, it was when they had the barracudas. Because up until that point, when they were flying swordfish, they were so cumbersome, it was unbelievable. Next. This is where our friends got in. He's the American, the 107th and the 109th Field Artillery. 28th Infantry came in this area, and they came from Newport all the way to Kent. And ones in Kentville, and Kentford, they were the 28th as well. And they came from Pennsylvania. They never actually went to war because they were 3rd or 4th generation Welsh. They came from the coal mines and the steelworks in Pennsylvania. And they were the National Guard, and then they became the 28th Infantry. These two people, they get on the 7th, the 107th and 109th. They had both aircraft in the hangars at Stormy. First thing in the morning, they'd fly off. One would fly down to Lock's Common, but they don't go with that part. And the other ones would fly to Margam, and they'd fly to the cricket pitch. So as you're coming into Margam House, as you look down the cricket pitch on the bottom, that was the airstrip. And if you go up to Lock's Common, where the football ground is, that was the other airstrip up there. So they did it a little bit, just spotting where the guns were fired. So I like, not a problem. The other thing we had in Port Call was a gunnery dome. If you go up to the rest home, as you walk to the gates on the rest, halfway up, look over towards the golf club, and you see a big patch of concrete. That concrete is 44 foot in diameter, and it was the base of this. Now inside that, you had a camera gun. I'm going to mention camera gun. I made a model of this down in the museum, and I made that over a basket. So half of it you can see what it looks like, and the other half is open so you can see inside it. Somebody went down there, and on Twitter or whatever these machine things are called, he wrote in there that this place was hidden from the Germans. They hid inside there, and he shot through the wires of the aircraft coming past. He hadn't realised they'd only built half of it, so you could see the inside. When I explained that to him, the next time he went on the Twitter, he wrote, he used to work on these all week, shooting out here, and on the weekends he used to patch all the holes in the ceiling. I had to explain to him it was a camera gun, and they weren't firing 40mm shells. But he got the hang of it in the end. So what they did on this, they actually, around there, This projectionist would show aircraft, low level, medium, high level, flying around. The spotter would then show them where they are, and they'd aim, and that's how they get their line. So we taught the Royal Artillery, the Royal Navy for the fleet ships, and the Royal Navy went on to the merchantmen. And they were the worst ones of all because it was just 2 or 3 of them, one gun, out in the convoys, being shot at by everybody, U-boats, bombed, everything else. So they had a bad time of it. So that's what was up there. At the end of the war, that was taken down from West Bay, and it was put on a funfair in Porthcawl. In 1954, it was painted with stripes around it, and they showed films inside it. It's now up in Mona, Harriet Mona, in Anglesey. So it's a good life. You still use it. Next, all the other trades you had there. Now, I told you it was a hospital there, it was priests, it was everything. This is not an ambulance. This guy is smiling, he's got a wonderful set of teeth. He's the dentist. I call him painless Pete. People didn't have time after they, I go and see the dentist. No, the dentist came to see you. You carry on working, we'll whip them up when you're doing the job. So that was the mobile dentistry we did. Now you've seen Dad's army. Jonesy comes up with his butcher's van and he turns it into an armoured car. Well, they've done basically the same thing. Don't quote me on this, I believe it's an old comma. And what they've done, they've armoured it up. There's 2 layers of steel, and inside it they packed it with dirt so the bullets won't go all the way through. They've got these little sliding parts here so they can put the guns out and shoot at them. And have the aircraft down in the back. This is all to protect Stormy down from paratroopers and from invasion. As you know, Stormy was bombed, and they dropped 12 bombs on Stormy Down. Stormy Down is built of wooden buildings. So we know now, you've seen the photographs that the Luftwaffe took of the place before it was bombed. They know what was in there because they wrote the story on it. They know they were all wooden buildings. So if you're going to bomb a place with wooden buildings, incendiaries are the best things because everything will burn. And the best time to bomb the base is at noon, because that's when the lessons finish and they all march off for grub. But they came in at 11:45. They flew across and they dropped all the bombs in the grass park, except for one bomb which blew up the post office. And that was it. And that's the only time they ever did it. The photograph I showed you of the Luftwaffe photograph, we had documents that came with it. And when I had them translated and I spoke to other people, what it actually says is that this is part of an invasion plan. Operation Sea Lion was to take place on the south coast and come in. But the backdoor plan was to come in through Wales. Now, they knew it was at Stormy Down, they knew it was at Landau, and they knew it was at St. Athens. St. Athens was never operational as such, it was a maintenance camp and has always been. Landau was there for training pilots, so it wasn't an operational Spitfire place. You had the oil refinery, they dropped a few bombs on the edge, never They dropped bombs on the edge of the Arsenal, never hit anything major. Reason being, they couldn't see it, everybody keeps saying. I'd been around as a kid and used to have pipes running along with steam jets coming up. They always looked like a bog. But lately, I've had a lot of photographs. I've got about 20 photographs I've seen, taken by the Luftwaffe of every building in there. So they knew what everything was. And the other part was, people say, well, they bombed Swansea and they missed the docks. Correct. In this pamphlet that we've got, they ask what the leanings of the people are. Are they for the Germans, against the Germans? Are they for the government? What type of religion they are? So they bomb the town to soften it up. They keep the docks so they can get the troops in. They got the rail lines to Pyle Station, which is marked on it. And if you go to Pyle Station, it used to be the garden centre, go up the line, and when it comes to Wineband Road, and it goes over the bridge, there's a little house there, it's called East-West Cottage. East-West Cottage is where the 2 different parts of the railways go. And 500 metres up from that, there's another platform buried in grass now. And if you walk from there to Stormy Down, you get the bridge, the motorway goes over the top of it. It's a dead straight line. And that was Stormy Hot. That was there for the camp. So they knew what everything was. So it was a great idea, not to bomb the place too much, but just soften it up. Porthcawl Harbour was the ideal place for E-boats. And that was marked down as well. So the Germans weren't as stupid as we thought they were. Next. We were, because where you saw the armadillo there, what they did for anti-aircraft use, the guns you saw outside earlier, they always had one turret which was always fully armed, so if anybody attacked the place, they could shoot. The only problem was it was locked. And the bloke with the key had gone to dinner early, and nobody could get at the guns. So nobody stopped. Besides that, they all thought you were Bristol Blends coming in. And so, hello, until they shot them. Right, this is what's called harbour. Now, 39 to 40, they had armoured boats, and they were big, heavy, cumbersome, and steel. And what have we got at the channel? We've got U-boats seated in place with magnetic mines. Not a good place for a steel-bottom boat. Now, there was a bloke called Lawrence of Arabia. When he finished in World War I, lots of influential mates, and one of his mates was a champion for British speedboats, and he formed the British Speedboat Company. And Lawrence of Arabia, when he joined the Air Force as an aircraftsman, oh, she broke it. Oh my God. Could you have pressed the wrong button? It's clever stuff. I don't matter to tell the story anyway. What happened was they got together and decided these boats are too heavy, too slow. I told my think it was better. It was too heavy and too slow. So what they decided to do was build a new type of boat. And they built a boat of the timber, and it was double diagonal planking. So instead of the spars on the boat and all the ribs going this way, they put it with the spars and the ribs going that way and then that way, all made of teak. So it was plenty of strength and rigidity in any type of waves, and it was non-magnetic. So you could go up and down the channel at will, same as we will in a minute, and they wouldn't get affected by the magnetic mines that were there. They started off with Perkins diesels in them, and then they changed over when they had a surplus of engines, and they put Rolls-Royce Merlin engines in these. And I've been in one of these boats, full speed, twin Rolls-Royce Merlins, and believe me, it's an experience. They whiz along. This is the old Jennings building. And part of it, we trekked on this boat. And there's always a rogue aircraft or a rogue boat or something. Always something goes wrong with it. And I spoke to a bloke before we did the Stormy down thing. If he could come back to Porthcawl and bring his boat because he's refurbished it and he's painted it in these colours. And he said, my boat, he said, but there's something always goes wrong with it, the engines and stuff. And the engines in this boat never ever work. Whatever engines they put in, they would fail. And this bloke now, if anybody wants to buy a boat, I know it's fair to say. Don't rely on the engines. So that one, that's where he sat most of his time there, actually. And they did lots of good rescue work in the channel as well. Starline was one, which is a very important boat to be rescued because it has Guinness on board. When they rescued them off it, they interrogated them. He said, well, there's lots of Guinness on board. You go back out and you get the Guinness. Now what happened was...
That's your hand.
You have had it. They carried away with it. What the format was, if anything was found, the person in charge of the water was the Admiral, which was up in Barry. Next in charge was the officer commanding Stormy down. So between them, they split the boats between them. So the boys thought, this isn't a good idea. So where the pilot house is, on a slip, just in front of the RNLI place, there was some tanks there. One tank had water in, so they poured Guinness into the water, and when the Customs and Excise came down and tested, they said, oh, you can't do that, that's rubbish. And they all walked away. And they loaded the rest into the clean tanks, and there was parties in Porthcawl Ruby. And the boat in the front, 1950s, that was a Vosper Thornycroft, which is a much upgraded engine. Right, we go on to the next part. So they were there for ages. Anyway, what happened then in Stormy Down, because it was mushy, it came the end of 43, 44, what happened was the water was getting so bad, the Whitleys couldn't take off. So they brought in the blending bombers. And the blending came in, 3 times they said, well, stick this, we go somewhere else. So they moved part of the gunnery school from Stormy Down over to Roos Airport. Now, Roos Airport isn't where Roos Airport is now. If you're in the terminal building at Roos Airport, look across the runway for a few sheds, that was RAF Roos, and that's where they operated from. Then they moved back in, and in 1944, the French took over. The French, again, won gunnery courses, which lasted 8 to 10 weeks, and they turned them out. And this picture isn't Stormy Down. This is Elvington in North Yorkshire, where the French went. I don't know where that story. It's Elvington in Yorkshire. They were trained here, and they went up and they flew the heavy bombers, the Halifaxes, from here. And 9,000 men died going out of there in Halifaxes, a lot of them from this place. They flew the French Air Force and the French Fleet Air Arm. And on the Russian list, any week, with 2,000 men on the station. So there's a lot of Frenchmen in this area. So you imagine what it was like here in the war. All the Welshmen were overseas. That's all you got over here is Australians, Canadians, New Zealanders, Indians, French, Poles, and Americans. Hell of a life. Next. Right. So as far as basic gunners are concerned, this is where the gunnery factory comes into it. They trained out 7,000 gunners. That's an 8-week course. 400 observers were trained there. 2,000 flight engineers, that's really short courses. They also had what they call WAP-AGs, which is wireless operator air gunners. The ones that came into the Fleet Air were called TAGs, because they were telegraphist air gunners. So they went through, and we haven't got the records for those. There's so many of them. Again, when it came to basic flying training, we haven't got the numbers of the pilots that were trained for basic training, or the ones that did dual training here as well. So 10,000 aircrew is a very, very slim figure. It's probably near 15,000 that came through here. It was a very, very busy place. And as well as that, there were the artillery gunners, the navy gunners, the fleet air, the merchantmen, the marines. It was a busy place. Next. On the 2nd of July last year, this is the stone we put there, which we had dedicated to them. And the crosses, they're the crosses of all the ones that died there, 53. 52 of those were in the Air Force. One was a WAC, Women's Army Corps. And she was killed at Lock's Common. She'd come out from the hut, she was walking past. One of the gunners, he was a Canadian. He'd gone out over the lines, tried his guns, they wouldn't fire, he kept trying and trying. He was told to stop, but he just didn't listen. He carried on, and all of a sudden he fired, and they killed her on Lock's Common. So what we did on this, the cadets laid them all in the big square and put her in the front of the parade. And that's up there for all of you to see at any time. And what they're going to do now, they're going to put another one of these turbines a bit further down. And all this area around here is going to be turned into a memorial garden for all those who served at Stormy Down. So if at any time you want to go up there during the week, you can just drive in and they'll allow you to sit there and have a look anytime you like. Next. And this is what's written on the brass plaque at the bottom. These are all the ones that were there. So as far as being a dummy base, to show the Germans there was nothing really there, it was a lie. Okay, any questions? That was easy,
Did the Germans have the same sort of equipment to what we were doing? They were doing the same thing, were they?
Well, bombing schools, everything else.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, everybody did. But a lot of ours, flight training, bombers and gunners, we sent some to Australia, some to Canada, some to South Africa. We sent them all over the Commonwealth. Unfortunately, as they came from nice warm climates, they said to slow me down. It's not quite the same, is it? And our boys were sunning on one day beach. They were in Portugal. That's about it.
Were they more advanced than us, though, the Germans, in that respect?
Well, don't forget, the Germans have been practicing this for a long time. 1940, just before the Battle of Britain, when Churchill came in, everybody was willing to give up. They said, well, what's the point of having a war? They said, it over. There was a great thing in the UK at the time that they didn't want a war, and they would say, because the Germans are friends. Hell, the Queen was German. What's the difference? They were all the same, we were all mates. So yes, and there are plenty of practice with Spain to start with. And they worked their way around. That's why they had the Condor Legion. Bombers that came over here were bombing Britain. When our fighter pilots had just been trained, and they were going up against the Condor Legion, which had been fighting for years. You know, these were seasoned veterans. They didn't go into this light-hearted. They worked it all out.
What connection did Stormy Down have with the arsenal? Were they using their ammunition, the munitions from that base, or was it totally separate?
Oh, possibly, because The arsenal was the second biggest arsenal in the UK, so they're stuffing all over. What we're working on at the moment is the 75th anniversary of the Dam Busters. Barnes Wallace spent a lot of time in Wales. Nanty Grove was the reservoir he used for practicing his bombs on. Whenever you see the film of the Dam Busters, it's the wrong bomb that's underneath. Right? It looks like a big golf ball. Actually, before he built a cylindrical one that looked like a 45-gallon drum, he used one that looked like a golf ball with dimples and everything. That was called a highball bomb. The Germans worked it as well. And the idea was they'd come along and bounce, and they practiced out of angle in West Wales. There's a little place called Pen-y-bont. I don't know where it is, but apparently there's a cave there. And the idea was they would bounce the bomb and go into the cave entrance. This was against ships like the Turkish, the Scharnhorst, the Eisenhower, and all the rest of it, but they didn't use it. He went to the next stage and built the one for the dam, because that's what they thought was imperative. There's been a few highball bombs being found recently. The Ecadets down in West Wales in Fishguard have got one down there. They found one in a cave, so they got the one that's lasted. If you want to see one of the big bombs, there's one of them in the Petwood Hotel up in, yes, what's the place called? Woodall Spa. When they did the dams run, they were in Scampton. When they came back, everybody knew what it was. Scampton was bombed. They moved out to Scampton to Woodall Spa, and they had a slam it in a 5-star hotel as the mess. And outside it in the car park is one of Barnes Wallace's practice bombs. Nice place to see. So yes, they used the same sort of ammunition. In Tondie was one of the places they practiced on different type of explosives for that bomb.
Did they have a runway there and could aircraft land there?
Where?
Stop it on.
All grass. No runways ever.
No runway.
Never. What happened was, about 1943, it was too waterlogged, so they dug a part of it, they put mesh down. But it was always grass, always has been. Never anything else. One good thing about that, you always take off in the wind. If it's all grass, you can take off any direction you want, can't you? As the wind changes, you can turn into it. It wasn't a very big place, but for the size of aircraft they had there, it was amazing. There wasn't very many air accidents, actually. It was one or two, because in the earlier days, there was no tower. People would say, yes, you can go, and you take off. Somebody just told you to take off, and you crash halfway. There's a few of those that happened up there. There's bits all over the place. The story was, one of the World War I air races, a guy called Ira Tappy Jones. He had 37 kills, World War I, just about to retire. We put him back into service, and he was in charge of flying at Stormy Down. One day when he was up there, he was flying around in one of those unarmed aircraft. It was a target ton. It was a Martinet. And as he was flying around, he saw a Junkers 88 coming in over Swansea. And he dived out of the clouds and attacked it. And we hadn't got any guns. So he slid the cockpit back, pulled out a signal pistol, a Berry pistol, and he fired. Now the Germans, they're not very sportsmanlike. They fired back at him with machine guns. They put holes in his wings and holes in his tailplane. But he managed to turn him around from Swansea, chase him across the bay, and the Spitfires came up from Chivana and shot him down. And people say that's heroic, but what they didn't know about Ira was, in World War I, he used to fly soft with camels. And when he was on a dogfight, if he run out of ammunition, he used to dive on them and ram them. So the idea is don't like it much. Anything else? I hope you enjoyed it, did you?